Greetings and welcome to the 51st International Eucharistic Congress, Cebu, Philippines. Eucharist, the face of mercy. I'm Bernard Factor Canyaveral saying, Mabuhay!
It's the fifth day of the IEC, and once again, welcome. My name is Angelique Lazo Mayuga.
A wonderful morning to all of you. This is Father Lorenzo Ruggiero.
Yes, and we are back, and because we have so many things in store for you this morning and this afternoon as well.
That's right.
We've prepared so much for them.
You're probably wondering, what are we wearing?
Yes. And you look beautiful.
For Filipinos, this is our traditional attire. This is the Barong Tagalog.
This is the Barong, not to be mistaken for Baron, but the Barong Tagalog. For Bishop Baron.
That's
Good morning.
right. And this is the kimona. The
Kimono.
Traditional kimona.
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's a feast day also for many of us.
Yes, that's right. So what do we have in store today?
We have, you know what? We're loaded again this morning. After our program, we will have the catechesis of His Eminence Luis Antonio Cardinal Tagle on the Eucharist and dialogue
Cardinal Tagle.
With cultures, Cardinal Tagle.
Cardinal Tagle is one of the youngest cardinals, I believe.
Yes.
And he's very popular here in the Philippines, and he's also making some waves abroad, right?
Yes. And that will be followed by the testimony of Mr. Kiichi Sugawara. Japanese.
Aso desu ka?
Aso desu ka.
Minasama, Nihongo de Ohayo gozaimasu. Okay, to all of our listeners and the viewers in Japan.
And of course, immediately after, we will have the Holy Eucharist by His Eminence Peter Cardinal Erdo, deity. I'd like to listen to the homily on this.
Yes, true.
Yes, and because first we will have the morning prayer.
This is at 8:30.
Yes.
And then, of course, 9 o'clock is the catechesis, followed by the reflection.
Right. Yes.
Or the testimony. And another reason why I'm wearing this attire today is because I'm part of the choir that will be singing for the 11 o'clock Eucharistic celebration. This is the Ateneo Chamber Singers, and I'm very proud to be part of that choir.
So you don't only host, but you also
Yes,
sing.
my other hat. Yes. Okay, but you know, we've been getting a lot of tweets about our Eucharistic Congress, and what do we have so far?
We have so many. According to Catherine Pacaldo Baring, thank you so much for sharing and your wonderful teaching about the Eucharist. God bless. This is a reaction on Timothy Radcliffe's, Father Timothy Radcliffe's discussion. From Marcel Cedo, I pray, Father God, send your Holy Spirit on your beloved priest to guide them and give them wisdom all the days of their life. Beautiful also.
Very nice.
And you must have watched also the Ponce family, because there's a lot coming from the Ponce family.
We can talk about that in a bit, Tito Burns. Okay, in the meantime, let's introduce our other guest this morning. He flew in also all the way from Italy. He is a kababayan of Father Lorenzo, but he's also our kababayan, right? So, Tito Burns,
yes. We have with us this morning, ladies and gentlemen, from the Papal City, Diocese of Viterbo, Officio della Comunicazione Sociale et Missione. I hope I pronounce it right. Father Dante Dai Luzan. Good morning, Father Dante.
Buongiorno, Padre.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno anche per quel che seguono.
And you know, it's so interesting because you are what do you call this? A parish priest in the Papal City, which means you have an Italian congregation or parishioners?
No, I am a diocesan priest actually. Yeah. I am ordained and studies everything in
So you are incarnated in
in Viterbo, that's right.
In Viterbo. And
That's in Vatican.
Yeah, what is you were saying earlier off the air that Viterbo is...
Yeah, Viterbo is known for the history of the church regarding the Papal City, and the term conclave was coined in that particular place. Yeah.
How long have you been there, Father Dante?
So I've been there for 22 years already. Yeah.
Yeah, if you notice, the two padres were speaking to each other in Italian because they didn't want us to listen to their conversation.
Or whatever. And you speak it fluently, like that's your mother tongue already.
Yeah, I'm still learning actually, because I guess the hardest language.
He speaks Italian better than me. No, don't believe it. No, he speaks very good Italian.
Yes. But it's very interesting for me. You're in the social communication. but you're a Filipino, and it's like an insider looking out or an outsider looking in. How is that, Father Dante?
Yeah, most probably because of the formation also while I was in the Philippines. I was involved in the movement, yeah, Mary Help of Christian Crusade,
Okay.
yeah. That's why my primary training was under this group then, yeah.
Yes.
And from this group, so I was developed to youth ministry animators, yeah. And that's why they contacted me there for the youth apostolate,
Especially for the young people.
yeah, for the young people.
I
Yeah,
want to
as-
also ask Father Dante, I want to ask Father Lorenzo this because Father Lorenzo is Italian, you're Filipino, but you are catering or you are serving the Italian people. It's already a reverse. They sent you here, we sent him there.
Well, we were talking precisely about this before we went on air, and it speaks about what we are reflecting on these days in the Congress, which is precisely the Catholicity of the Church. When we say that the Church is Catholic, that means universal, and the universality of the Church is seen by the fact that is a Church that is not just thinking of a little garden. It's open to new horizons, so it's missionary, and that is why a Filipino priest may be ministering to Italians, and an Italian can be in the Philippines serving God. And this is the beauty of it.
So exactly, Father Dante, what do you do in the Officio della Comunicazione, in the social communication and mission?
First is the animation of the migrants, and at the same time also catering some services regarding the situation of other Asian countries mostly, yeah. Like for instance from Sri Lanka, India, and there are some from Korea also. They started to migrate in Italy. So we are the one catering services for them, and we have also the group, the MGM, Missionari Giovanili, Movimento Giovanile Missionario. So we are training young people to become lay missionaries also.
But at the same time, you're a correspondent, so you're sending reports to the Vatican?
We are sending some informations because we are connected with the Episcopal Commission of Italy. So there is the group concerning the mission of the young people, and we are correspondent of the activities going on regarding the mission of these young people.
So what is your observation about these migrant people challenged by being migrants themselves?
Migrants themselves, it is because of the searching for work, but at the same time there are a lot of vocation that is being developed, in particular among the Indians and Sri Lanka. So I guess poverty is just a channel for them to search not only for work but for their lifetime vocation, because most of them ended up sometimes in lay mission or development of cultural development also. Yeah, they're very much integrated in terms of youth activity.
About how many migrants do you attend to?
So there are lots of migrants, especially during this moment that Pope Francis opened migration, and unfortunately, most of them are during this moment are coming from Africa, and we are trying to open a lot of centers, in particular in our diocese.
What is the most common challenge of migrants? Like, let's say, Filipinos are more easy to adjust.
Yeah, Filipinos are very versatile in terms of integration, actually. For sure, Father knows that, yeah. And our common problem is the looking for a job then, how to integrate them, because the language itself is very hard. And we need to conduct some seminars in order for them to be integrated in the community. So there's still a strong discrimination when it comes to work, because most of them, since they're coming from Africa, so they need to be integrated well as to adopt the culture of Italy.
Okay. So the very first thing is about getting a job, finding a job. Would going to church be second to this?
Yeah, aside from searching for a job, most of them yung kanilang takbuhan
Yes.
is the church.
All
So
right.
they run to the church
They
for
run to the church
solace.
because whenever they have
support.
they have called a sort of reference at church, they
Alright.
feel secure actually. I guess this is the spirituality of the Eucharist also.
All right, that's good to hear. Because I know that a lot of Filipinos would bring along with them their small stampitas, their
Their
small
Santo
statues,
Niños.
their rosaries, and they will have their own small altar in their, even in the, on top of their beds, right? Yes. And that's very telling of their faith. Yes.
But for the most part, so Filipinos are easily able to assimilate into the culture, right? But you are helping out even the Africans. Are there any refugees from Syria?
Yeah,
or
from
other
Syria
areas?
and also Afghanistan, Egypt. Yeah. Although during this moment there's a sort of difficulty regarding the ISIS also.
All right.
Yeah, because the media is telling that there are some infiltrations also.
Yes. And
But
how do
we are
you
very
handle
careful
that?
about
How do you handle that if there will be refugees coming from these areas you just mentioned?
The first thing is the connection with the government also
Alright.
for the social services, and each one of them is being given a sort of identification because mostly they migrate without any identification, no passport, no IDs.
Nothing.
Yeah. And the best thing we could do is to offer the church open houses and even sometimes apartments.
And how is the response of the locals?
At first, the doubt to accommodate somebody you never meet
Exactly.
before, and the fear also that they might be called in
Agents or
Agents
whatever,
or whatsoever, yeah.
undercover. Yes.
so. At the first stage, we are a little bit worried, but later when we already try to experience some people that they could be easily adopted.
I want to ask Father Lorenzo. So, okay, given this kind of
Scenario.
what is the normal response of Italians, the local Italians?
Unfortunately, today we cannot speak anymore of normal because the situation in itself is very abnormal. In the history of humanity, or at least in the last part of the history of Europe, we've never experienced this sort of migratory phenomenon. People are running away from destruction and war and famine. The only way for them to survive is to get on these large boats and try their luck. Actually, many of them, the saying goes today, I prefer trying to find a new life on the other side, risking my life, than being sure to lose my life here, because what they have before them is death. So the only way is to risk their life, really, because many of them, and this is the issue of the day, are not able to come across the Mediterranean, so they die in the sea. Children, pregnant women, the elderly, and the situation is very particular because today, in these past days, in fact, the European Union gathered to discuss the possibility of creating again borders between nations, which is precisely the opposite of the spirit of the European Union. So there is great turmoil in these days because, of course, as Father was saying, the fact that so many people are coming, the homeless, without any identification, they are somehow connected to the idea of terrorism, the idea of someone who is foreign to your culture, to your language, to your manners, is always something frightening. The idea of the different one, the otherness, is always something frightening at once. And if people are not educated, the reaction would be xenophobia. And now we are assisting already to many cases of violence against these foreign brothers and sisters who are seeking for refuge. And the Pope spoke very strongly about this, said, remember that all of us are pilgrims on this earth.
Yes. Is the church preparing a short-term or a long-term plan as regard to this new normal that we're facing right now in terms of migration? And
It always depends on the diocese or the hosting family or parish.
all right.
Because usually the parish itself adopts 4 or 5 families, and when they started to be integrated in the community, usually they remain there. Yeah.
For example, the government is preparing already as to this kind of situation. But what about the Catholic Church in Europe?
The Catholic Church is very open for this. Thanks be to God, because Pope Francis indicated that particular spirituality of the church.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess this is one of the basic witnessing of the Catholic Church also to welcome the migrants also.
Okay. Well, it looks like we have many more things to talk about,
Yes.
Bernard.
Right,
And
so,
so we'll keep Father for a while. And we will be right back.
Stay with us.
Salamat po. Uy, may biscuit po. Yay!
Brothers and sisters, the Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Please be seated for the homily.
Ani, kamusta pag-aaral mo?
Okay lang po.
Inayos mo ba?
Opo.
Iwasan mo muna yung barkada, pag-aaral mo ng unahin. Ikaw, Jay, kamusta pag-aaral mo?
Okay lang po.
Inayos mo ba?
Opo.
Gusto ko makatapos kayo ng pag-aaral, kahit mahirap.
Ang katawan ni Kristo.
Amen. Ito, mahirap na magpaaral ng mga bata dahil mataas ang matrikula.
Ang hirap ng buhay. Ang mahal-mahal ng bilihin, di tumataas ang sahod.
Ang hirap-hirap nga ng buhay, dagdag pirisyo itong traffic na to.
Ito, sa awa ng Diyos, sa karaos pa rin. Kahit paano.
All right, welcome back to our program. Eucharist, the Face of Mercy, on the 5th day of the 51st International Eucharistic Congress, coming to you live from Cebu City, the Philippines.
We're very much engaged with this
Yeah,
discussion, even
especially
off camera.
because it's become a world
phenomenon,
all over
really.
the world. In the
Yeah.
Philippines, we also have some internal strife and some migration
Yes,
from
coming.
the south, and then of course the problems in Syria and in Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you were asking earlier about the Catholic response?
Response.
And
Are they
Father
building
Loren-
houses
yes.
or giving jobs? Yes. Father, you have something, an idea on this?
We were discussing about this and Caritas influence
All
on
right.
well, there is a double aspect, a double response, as Father was mentioning. On the one hand, we have the government
Yes.
and the governments of Europe uniting in this sort of response to migration. And at the level of European Parliament, they decided to have a quota of people to be welcome in each country. Germany was complaining because they had a million migrants to be adopted in a way. And the problem is quite complex, because the problem is with some countries, by regulation, they will accept a migrant, for instance, Germany, only in case you have already a work permit. So if you don't have a work permit, you won't be given the documents to enter the country. But as the Father was mentioning, the problem is these people come without even identification, much less they have a work permit. They just are desperate people looking for a new opportunity of life.
And they come home. I mean, how?
That is why, and that's precisely the dilemma today.
Right.
You have to, and what the other countries are saying, we welcome them first because this is our moral responsibility. We give them a time to be able to adjust, and of course we ask them to have a job. So the most charitable idea today, which is shared by almost everyone, is to give them a time. For instance, 6 months. If within 6 months you're not able to apply for a job or to start looking for a job, then we have to send you back to where you come from, because you don't show.
How difficult.
But otherwise.
But they're both people of this new generation, and they don't. Precisely the reason why they left.
They ran away. But also we know that recently Cardinal Tagle was appointed by the Pope to be president of Caritas Internationalis, because in the Philippines, Caritas Manila and the different Caritases all over the Philippines are very, what do you call this? They're well trained in
they can handle situations.
Responding to emergency situations, whether it be, the storm or some internal strife. So I think that was probably one of the reasons why the Pope appointed Cardinal Tagle. But on the international level, what is Caritas Internationalis doing?
Yeah, aside from, because usually Caritas International is identified as food distribution. But more than that, they are in charge also of the formation, in particular for the young people also.
All right.
I guess that is the fundamentals of this Caritas International, for the migrants to be integrated in a society.
Okay.
Because there's a great hardship actually when it comes to for integration. Most of them are professionals coming from Syria, dentists, engineers, but unfortunately due to this war, they were forced to migrate then.
I see.
And the first thing is to identify their profession. And also
what are their skills, their talents?
There is another problem. In fact, there was a sort of strong, very heated discussion on this, because they started dividing
the professionals
and non-professionals, because Syrians, most of them are very highly educated. So there are nations saying, okay, we will accept people from Africa, but we get only the Syrians. The Lebanese, for instance, I don't know, the Iraqis to other nations. So it was really something unfortunate.
Other than migration as an issue of we're talking about, what about child abuse and racism? Do you also find this among migrants?
Yeah, we have an increasing numbers of child abuse actually. I just don't know if this is due to media, that they started to expose everything.
All right.
But mostly our cases is violence against women.
Yes.
Almost every day we have 4 or 5 cases.
So this is the trafficking of women.
Yeah.
Also.
Or violence.
Violence aside from domestic violence. There's also this trafficking of women, and mostly they're coming from the east part of Europe.
Yes.
The way it works, perhaps, is they would be enticed with a job offer to come and work here, but then when they get there, there's nothing, and they are, they become, sex slaves or prostitutes.
And also I have read somewhere that because of these things happening to them, and sometimes they're losing in touch with the church, they go and embrace other religion in Europe.
Yeah, that's right. There's an increasing number also of Christian, Christian religion, evangelization. But mostly, they always ended up in the Catholic Church. Yeah.
They come back.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
There is also something very positive about migration. Though we are witnessing the worst side of it, there are also many beautiful stories which are untold. And Cardinal Tagle, as the head of Caritas Internationalis, last October was in Rome for the Synod on Family, and he was asked by the Pope to go to Syria and to see on the ground what was the situation of people, the refugee camps there. And then he went to Greece, where there were also migrants. And he told us, he shared with us the story, which I would like to also share with you, of this camp in which he saw still hope. He said that the first thing that struck me was to see in the midst of people who had nothing, no clothes, no food, they had no water, there were still children playing soccer. They had a little ball and they were still playing, so you could see children as an image
and they're
of
still
home.
playing, and
Yes.
they're still laughing.
And he
Signs
said,
of hope.
I was struck because Greece is a place where many people go for tourism.
Right.
And to the refugee camp, when I was there was a group of tourists who was on a cruiser who came to visit. And there was this couple from Northern Europe, he said, a young couple who were just enjoying their vacation, and they walked around this desolation, and they were so struck by what was happening that they spoke to each other and said, what are we doing? And so they told the group, you go back on board, we'll stay here. So we renounce our vacation, and we stay the rest of the 1 week we have to spend around Europe, we spend it with these poor people.
Beautiful.
So
Beautiful.
stories of,
That's a
you know,
beautiful story.
Exactly the point of Father Timothy Radcliffe on children as signs of
music.
hope. Yes,
Right.
a sign of hope. Yes.
Okay.
But that's a good point, Father Lorenzo, because despite the worst case scenarios that we were talking about, there's a good news still. The good news, and we're hopeful things will turn out fine and beautiful as well.
And of course, because we want them to be strengthened spiritually, all the more the role of the church, it has to be very visible, right? So your work is cut out for you, Father.
Yeah. It's very satisfying to know that not only us priests, but also the awareness of the people, that they started to open their homes and accommodate migrants. Before, the initiative is that for them to open their houses. So the government established a particular funds. But during this moment, it started to become a voluntary work then. Because, when you started to open your house and accommodating refugees, you started to learn also the spirituality of the Bible. Started to know also that that particular mission is not only limited for the priest, but also for everyone.
Yes. Father, I'd like to ask your impression on this Eucharistic Congress. You've been away for long, so what can you say about this?
The first thing, I feel like home.
Feel like home.
This is the spirituality of the Filipinos. The perseverance, at the same time, the joy to testify. The testimony of our faith often reveals in the joy of the celebration. In fairness with Father, he knows the celebration we have here in the Philippines, of which is very contrary in Europe. The celebration in Europe is dying.
Oh.
There's no more enthusiasm, there's no more joy. Everything is being stuck on the head. There's no more heart, there's no more smile. Usually, just in my parish, mostly aging 40 and
long
above.
faces.
Yeah, long faces. Yeah.
So there are very few young people who are joining or attending Mass.
During Sundays, there are some. And unfortunately, there's this particular tradition and saying that after confirmation, most of the young people
Gone.
left the church. Yeah. Which is very opposite, I guess, here in the Philippines.
You can see it's vibrant here, alive and beaming and rejoicing, and
Yeah, I guess that particular joy that really inspires you, so that you have to go and at the same time to evangelize again, because you felt that you're not alone then.
So that means when you go back to Italy, Father,
I am renewed.
you are renewed.
And
when,
bring the joy.
yes,
That's right.
we send our prayers and our energy
Thank
with
you
you
so
so that you can spread it.
And just to prove to you how joyful people are
Oh yeah.
here
Are
in
we
this
going to
celebration.
show something about
Yes,
yesterday's
yes.
Paris encounters?
The Paris encounter, ladies and gentlemen, because we couldn't be there, so we picked up some video clip for you to see and also be involved in.
Yes, we want to see how our delegates reacted to their parish encounter. They were able to hear Mass. Okay, what are the parishes that we were able to visit?
I think our crew went to the Sacred Heart of Jesus Parish and then to Santo Rosario Parish in Padre del Rosario, Cebu Metropolitan Cathedral. We have to visit this one.
Right
and
now
San
on the
Roque
video
Parish.
is the Sacred Heart. That's the
Right.
first one. You know,
That-
each of our churches has its own personality. You notice, no? There, this is still the Sacred Heart.
Beautiful
There's-
mosaic and
This
This is
like
the
a
local
stained
church
glass.
of the Jesuit community
Jesuits.
in Cebu. They
Yeah.
cater also to the Chinese community.
Beautiful stained glass windows there. Right, because there are 14 churches where this celebration took place yesterday. And this is the Santo Rosario Parish. Well, I haven't been there.
Santo Rosario Parish in P. del Rosario.
In P. del Rosario. Yeah. As always, the altar is so ornate. You notice in Cebu? And beautiful, huh? So some of the delegates went to this place, and also some of our priests who attended this, were attending this Congress. Yes. And I think there's the Barrio Fiesta after the Mass, wherein they partake of the food and more celebration.
Okay.
Yes.
Our next one, they also went to Cebu
Yes.
Metropolitan
And Cathedral and San Roque Parish in Mambaling.
Yes.
In Mambaling. So 14 churches have mentioned.
They were treated to a cultural show as well.
Yes.
So they heard Mass in the local parishes. Then they had a dialogue with the local parishioners. And then, of course, fiesta and cultural exchange.
Food would always be on the table when you
Yes.
enter this celebration.
Part of our feast. Okay,
Right,
as you
so-
can hear, the music is already playing in the plenary hall.
Yes.
We just want to read some tweets. Are we able to read
Yeah,
some more
okay.
tweets?
Again, this is on Paul Ponce's testimony from Santa Fe. Indeed, God can never be outdone with generosity. May God continue to bless you, Paul, and your family bountifully for your faithfulness.
Yes.
And we really hope to have them in this program. And according to this one, I know him and his family. Oh, he presented with his kids during the lunch that we prepared for the homeless. I was assigned in Berlin. I cannot pronounce
That's why, because
Kreuzberg,
he-
and his group was also
very
in
good.
tour in Berlin.
Yes.
So this is a close encounter.
That's where their first child was born. It was a beautiful, touching moment of the experience. Is that
Yes.
in the chapel where my future wife was praying for years to find a good man. We found each other, and then she gave birth in that very city. It was
There
beautiful.
is no coincidence in life.
Not at
It
all.
is-
Everything that they said yesterday
It's part of-
spoke to the plan of God, to how God orchestrated all this.
And then I
Yes.
guess the message there is if we truly entrust our lives to God, He will find a way. Things will work
Yes.
out. in
A
the
wonderful way at that.
end.
So don't forget, friends, if you want to tweet your thoughts, your ideas, your reaction to all you've been watching here on TV, please tweet at #EucharistPH.
Okay.
Yes.
So in just a while, we are standing by for the morning prayers and, of course, the catechesis by Cardinal Tagle, followed by the testimony of Keiichi Sugawara and the celebration of the Holy Eucharist, which will be presided by Cardinal Erdo. So in the meantime, we'd like to say thank you again. Maraming salamat.
Thank you so much for you.
Grazie mille.
Grazie mille anche a voi.
Father Dante Gailusan.
Thank you.
Maraming
And-
salamat, Father.
yes.
was
Lorenzo.
perfect.
Thank you so much. For
And don't
always
you
being with us.
forget, during the Mass, look for this face who would be singing
Oh dear. I hope that I
amongst the
will
choir.
do justice to
That's
the song.
the Ateneo
Chamber Singers.
Singers.
Yes, following after the testimony
Yes.
at 10:30. So this is at 11 o'clock. Okay.
So thank you very much for being with us, and we hope to see you later for another episode, this afternoon's episode of this.
I won't be with you this afternoon.
You won't be with me?
Because we will also be part of the penitentiary
Okay.
services
Yes.
at 3 o'clock.
But I hope Father Lorenzo
Father
and Father
Lorenzo
Joel will be with me this
And
afternoon.
hopefully maybe
Something.
Chichi will be with you.
So thank you very much for watching. This has been your friend, Bernard Factor Canyaveral.
And this has been your friend and host, Angelique Lazo Mayuda.
And your friend, Father Lorenzo Ruggero.
And we leave you with this wonderful word from the Philippines. We say,
Mabuhay!